So let's introduce the first topic of the day. Like I said, it may have struck a chord. Maybe you caught it. Maybe I moved too quick. Joy Reid, let me be clear, says Iowa is overrepresented by white Christians. It might be on the desktop just under Joy Reid.
I got it.
Okay, perfect. Ready when you are. This one's wild.
I feel like
Happened just
the important
She said
sort of
it.
data point.
And she did just say
and, you know,
yes.
Steve talks about it a lot. He's going to probably talk about it a little more tonight. Is that these are white Christians? That this is a state that is overrepresented by white Christians that are going to participate in these caucuses, especially tonight.
Who needs them?
Earlier today, reached out to Robbie Jones, from the Public Religion Research Institute, knowing that we were going to talk about Iowa. And this is a hyper-evangelical white state. And he said the following to me. Iowa is about 61% white Christian. The country as a whole is approximately 41% white Christian. And in Iowa, we're talking about evangelical white Christians. And he said the following. Because I asked him, what do they get out of supporting Donald Trump? Because he keeps losing, he keeps delivering losses and losses and losses. And he said the following. They see themselves as the rightful inheritors of this country, and Trump has promised to give it back to them. All the things that we think about electability, about, you know, what are people gaming out, or none of that matters when you believe that God has given you this country, that it is yours, and that everyone who is not a white conservative Christian is a fraudulent American, is a less.
Hey, you know what?
Very charged.
This country is ours. It's definitely not the state's. Who else is it? Ours, not Christians, everybody's. Here's a delusion. For you to think that white Christians representing Iowa is overrepresenting is like saying we shouldn't have Jews representing Israel or Mormons representing Utah, like Doug brought up. This is all I'm saying is this is the beauty of the country. And you're taking a demographic. Let's look at like the demographics of Iowa. So the population itself isn't more than 3 million. So take that in a tribe of 350 million. We're already talking about a small number of people. Looking at about 49% of them are females. 50%. So 51% are males. Okay, so majority representation are male. So Joy, you're onto something. What would be your guess of if out of the number, guys, if you haven't done math before, Brian, throwing this to you, Doug, over to you, guys. Numbers, there are 100 possible percents. Of all of them, how many of them do you think are white in Iowa?
75%.
We got a 75%. Brian?
I'm going to go 66.
80%.
Doug is the closest to being president. It's 89%. Know your people. How many of them are African American, triggered like Joy Reid? 4.4%. Can't even round up to 5. You really want to chalk it up to Native Americans because you think that's where we hit them all away to hide, stay on the reservation. Yeah, guess how many of them are Native American? Not even 1%, 0.6. Let's just talk numbers. Oh, where the heck is Joy Reid from? New York City. So keep your opinions where they belong, in a failing city and state. Keep it where it is. All I'm saying is, one, this is incredibly divisive, which is the whole purpose of the system, right?
Well, yeah.
It's the whole sole purpose is to divide us on things that don't even matter or exist. That being said, I need to emphasize how racist these mentalities are as we leave one of the most important. What's crazy is when you're in 8th grade learning about Martin Luther King, and let's be specific, 8th grade in 2008, right? 2007, 2008. Very different than 8th grade today. So putting yourself back into an 8th grade classroom in 2008, yeah, you're learning about Martin Luther King and you're bored because you're just like, bruh, we're beyond this. Do you see what my classroom looks like? We're all the same. I don't treat anybody different. I don't even think of them as different. I think of that guy, purple, round, orange, or that's the fast kid, that's the lazy kid, that's the smart kid, that's the strong kid. That we're all based on our character. And that's the only thing the guy wanted. And it's like, yeah, we're beyond that. Then they went and spent about 2 decades retraining racism back into us. So what's crazy is to be sitting here now, I have such an affinity for this man. One, because of how difficult it was to do what he did. Unfortunately, I didn't have the time to prepare all of the media I would have liked to have for this episode. But just yesterday morning, a friend shared a video that Martin Luther King was a big fan of coming to visit Cleveland. He was able to really, connect with the people here in the message of white people and black people, just the people of Cleveland. He liked coming to Ohio. And there's a rally that he held that was to promote getting blacks to register to vote. That was the whole goal. It was a registration rally. And it's just so funny that you've got this man with admiration and passion for change. And his sole purpose was they made rules for the game. And we're not letting them keep us out of the game anymore. We're going to fight to get people to play. We're going to get them in the game. Now we just got to do away with the rules because the rules are racist. Instead of getting you to register, registration's racist. What's funny is he didn't think so. He thought it was necessary, but also a hurdle that will no longer hold people behind. So if registration is racist because the majority of the people that are held back by it are poor and dumb, then the Martin Luther King choice would have been, let's get people less dumb and poor. Instead, we want to keep people dumb and poor because that's what keeps them voting Democrat. So we just got to do away with registration. We got to call registration racist. I say all of this because that's how heart-aching and just, I'm going to say something, and I love how much it's going to upset you. I love it. I live for it. This is the best part of the show, this part right here. Truthfully, I think myself as a white male who's worked super hard to even be in this room to say this, I think a white male today in 2024 is closer to feeling the persecution of the world around them to what black men were experiencing at that time than black men are today. Truthfully, because nothing is easier than it is today. You want to go to school for free? You want to have a channel for yourself? Here's all your entertainment. I mean, look at the Emmys. Now we're just giving up. Look at your employment. How many people just have jobs? Because that's just how the cookie crumbles. That's just how the world is today. And if I say this, I'm at risk for losing my job. I have to toe the line. I got to be a good boy. Get in line. Yeah, that's that world. And I'm supposed to sit here comfortably and listen to a woman just push hate and division based on the way I look, already judging me, already pretending, even though the whole state are people like me, oh, I couldn't represent them. To me, that's just equally as racist as someone saying you can't represent them because you don't look like them. What happened to the heart of what, and here's, I only say this because I want to wrap my thought up with this. When it came to Martin Luther King Day yesterday, at work Friday, I had an employee in my office, and we were laughing and we made jokes at each other, and she walked out. And I said to her, I just look at, it's like, is this not the dream? Is this not what he stood on the Lincoln Memorial saying? Like, this is what we want. Like two completely different worlds. Single male, a mother, like two different worlds. I don't look at you as different. I don't look at you as like you can't do the job. I wish you were a white man or a man to begin with. Not only are we sharing spaces with different genders and sexes, but also different races and ethnicities and different religions. That's the purpose of this place. That's called a melting pot. I don't know why we try so hard to segregate the spirit of a melting pot. I pass it off to you as I throw a lot.
So let's start with the first thing she said. Did she say overrepresented, or was the majority voting white Christians?
She said the words overrepresented.
She said overrepresented.
And again, when you listen to the clip itself, and that's why I wanted to show the clip, because then nothing's twisted out of context. Here's what she probably meant. She's in a dialogue on, what is it, CNN or MSNBC, one of those waste of times cable shows. And she's obviously having a dialogue about the evil Republican politicians representing people, right?
Mhm.
So this is a political analysis on representatives. So when she's using overrepresented, she's probably like, we need to get more people like me representing that state, even though you're only 4%, right? That's really the twisted propaganda she's trying to seed. But unfortunately, she's also undereducated for the microphone she's speaking into. Probably shouldn't have the platform she has. And as a result, what she meant isn't what she communicated. And what she communicated is that there's too many white male Christians in Iowa. Well, if that doesn't be the case, why don't you get yourself to the woods in Iowa? Oh, yeah, you don't want to be there. Okay, well, it looks like we've reached a crossroads. That guy does.
Yeah, and so and also part of the reason they took, because I think Iowa is no longer the first state to vote for the Democratic Party. I think I'm right in that one as well. And part of that reason is because, well, they're what the Democratic Party wants to see out of a first primary is not what Iowa offers anymore. They want to see kind of what's the mix represent. Like, go to the Obama playbook and see, how much minority voting can I get? Because that's usually, at the end of the day, it probably is the difference between a Democrat president and a Republican president is what is the minority vote going to skew. So when you do Iowa, you're just going to get kind of the white vote, and that's if you're not looking for that information as part of your first first caucus, fine. She could also say, I'm not upset at the first part what she said because that's mostly just fact. You're probably Iowa. The majority of Iowa is probably your average Trump voter for the most part. You have, let's say, a white male Christian, white female Christian, usually of married or of not quite college education, but I think up to GED. Mostly have a stable job, blue collar workforce, and all that. It's where I have problems where she kind of gets later into the segment. Like, well, okay, so Iowa is evangelical, a very, very evangelical state. I don't know if I really agree with that. I think when you start going to like Mississippi, Alabama, like the deep South.
But
like
what
the
does that
Bible
word
Belt.
trigger? Like there's a very dismissive
like crazy
connotation with evangelical. So again, undereducated people speaking on highly educated points, they're just trying to trigger emotions in people. And that's all that does, because it's totally inaccurate, but also it triggers an emotion.
Yeah. And then describing the voters as if they're earned the country because of God. I don't know if I've really heard that rhetoric ever.
Dude.
Ever. And let's say we heard it once or twice. Oh, that's kind of a crazy person. Why would you be saying that? No, God does not owe you this country. You are, depending on how you see religion, you are owed to yourself to God, or how it works. Depending.
But see, this is where you fell short. What you're trying to do again is judge someone based on their character and not on things that their great grandparents didn't do either. They just watched other great grandparents do. Yeah. See, that's what you're supposed to judge them on. That's equity. I mean, equality. That's what we're going for.
Also, I haven't looked too much into Joy Reid, but I would like to see kind of her opinion on the Israel-Palestine thing. Where does she fall? If she's pro-Palestine, well, they're both.
Either way, you're a hypocrite.
Either way,
looks like you're a Democrat.
They both feel like they're owed this piece of land because of the religion that they base themselves on. So they're just hypocrisy. I hate it. I think you and I are like we're right. We're simpatico on this one. This is not a good look. I may be a tidge more sympathetic, but oh boy, not a good look at all. Joy Reid, bit of a moron. They just not.
I can resonate with that position, and this is kind of like one thing I didn't get to address because I just got so distracted by the racist hate that the left get to comfortably peddle. That being said, another piece that you raised is the rightful inheritance of this country. That narrative has not been peddled by an individual group of people. But what I want to take a walk down, a history class lane, right? Like American history. Let's take a walk down the path. What brought America to the independent position it is in the global arena currently? Greatly lends itself to manifest destiny. So for those of you unaware, Manifest Destiny was America being destined to being an independent country. It was this narrative that it was America's destiny to be birthed in the global arena. What peddled the narrative of Manifest Destiny, but also, hate to say it, manifested the destiny itself, manifested this thing, was the fact that newspapers, the printing press and newspapers, were created at the same time as local pubs and coffee shops that would sell these newspapers. So now we had a local commune area where people could congregate. And while it could have been total propaganda BS, just like it still is today, we all were talking about one central idea, whether agree or disagree. It was one central idea and one commune area where we could all come together and wrestle the ideas. It was a unification of think tanks. And that's what manifested America. And so, to me, kind of coming from the rethink tank corner, but then also just what that to me made me appreciate this little grain of history that much more. To me, it feels like I don't want to lose that. Like, we were destined for greatness and goodness. Like, I'm not saying go and bomb weddings in the desert in the name of goodness, but I am saying go try your bestest to be a beacon, a template, a guiding light for goodness. Or even in areas where you're corrupted and wronged, you're still a platform for goodness to find itself or grow. And so I don't want to lose the spirit of Manifest Destiny, because there was a monarch and we needed to beat the monarch, break away from that, steal our independence. And one thing that gets lost on us was like, yeah, but it wasn't goodness because you were owning people at that time. Yeah. Do you understand it's an evolution of things? So yes, at the first, in the layer of breaking badness, first one was a king. Because guess what? I can't come down to the bottom row and break chains before we first break the king. So yeah, I'll concede. At the first link of this, we were corrupted.
You got to allow the people. You got to decentralize the power.
Yes, and I also don't like breaststroking. Just brushstroking off like, oh yeah, well, everybody was owning slaves at that time. I won't, because badness is badness, even when everybody's committing tragedy. But that same group, under the spirit of goodness, that broke against a monarch to bring freedom not only to the wealthy in the community but the poor, were also the first community in human history to break the links of owning people. That was a passed down tradition of all tribes, of all people, through all iterations of man, up until the first group of people with independent morality broke that chain. It is just the line of human history. So to me, yes, did it take longer than it should have? Yes, but it also had been done for 3,000 years and happened within the first 150. That being said, we still got ways to go. I get you. I hear you, liberal, the blue hair in the back. I hear you. We still got ways to go. But the fact that we are the tip of the spear and the leading light for all of this cannot be overshadowed by that fact. And so, yes, it is our inheritance. Not whites, not men, not Christians. Free people in America. I don't care what you look like. We can't just open the borders so every person and their neighbor can come in here. No, it's the social contract so we can preserve what's great here. All the people paying into the system get all the fruits of this, and all of them are rightful inheritances of this. That's my position. Joy, you're right. But it isn't whites. It isn't Christians. It isn't evangelicals, whatever you're saying. It's all of us. It is owed to us. And we need the politicians and the government to remember who they're working for. It isn't for you, Joy Behar, the rich people, the corporations, or themselves. They work for me, my neighbors, and us. It's our inheritance. And you're cruel to think it's not.
Yeah, no, I agree with you for the most part. I think part of the manifest destiny, kind of elaborate to what you're saying, is it was destiny because we worked and had the effort and thought of things a little bit differently and learned from our mistakes from previous regimes like the British regime, the French regime, a little bit the Indians as well, Romans. We can go all day on what type of regimes, but we went about it in a different way, and that's why they call it the New World, because there's the opportunity that we had to be able to do this. And we're not perfect. I don't think no country is, no position, nothing is. However, we always seem to be striving a little bit. We seem to learn from our mistakes. Well, we bomb Afghanistan. Okay, we're going to come back and maybe the next mistake is we're going to give guns to bomb other people. So,
or we're going to bomb Yemen, or we're going to bomb, again,
it's a slow evolution of, I think, towards that ultimate goal where everyone has the liberty to be able to kind of choose how they want to do things for the most part. I think we can go debate on the little lines like that.
Whatever the pace may be, what does keep it progressing forward?
It's us.
No.
What is
Amendment 2?
What? I'd say I disagree. I think it's the First Amendment that allows us to speak these.
Yeah, but First Amendment doesn't exist as long as we don't have Amendment 2. Amendment 1 is most important.
Yeah,
but how do you keep Amendment 1?
Amendment 2.
How do you prevent it from going backwards?
It's the Second Amendment, absolutely. Yeah. But I think the founding fathers put the Bill of Rights in the order of the importance in which they are. And for some reason, disbanding alcohol was one of the lower ones, but we won't get too much into that. Brian, what are your thoughts on this one?
I got a couple. So
okay.
I am all about the self-help idea that you were pushing. I think people should always be improving themselves and focusing on how they can improve the world around them. With that said, I agree that the liberal agenda has been pushing racism a lot. I've been seeing it frequently being posted around. And when you go to places like the Blue Hair Chaz nation of Seattle, and you look at the fentanyl crisis and the homelessness, and they're just dishing out. They are literally handing out for free fentanyl in the streets, and it is absolutely disgusting. And I'm happy to see, I know this is a super tangent, but I watched Jelly Roll talk to the Congress about fentanyl, and I thought what he said was great. I know we didn't talk about that at all, but I just had to toss that in there.
I think we should get some of that free fentanyl for our next challenge. Donald Trump or Donald Duck. If you fail, you get a little fentanyl. Gotta hit it. Sorry.
We'd be running through guests like it's not the Doug you're in.
I do have one more point.
All right.
The video I did see about them handing out free fentanyl, they did talk to the homeless community that are in the area, and some of the conclusions that they've reached pretty quickly was some of the homeless are super comfortable and they don't want to not be homeless. They don't want to not be living in a tent, and they don't want to be getting help for their mental insanity. And the ones that there are programs out there. There are things to do, but you have to follow some of their rules, all their rules, to be able to get those benefits and better yourself.
Brian, are you saying the homeless want to be homeless?
Some of them.
Okay. Because I think you said some of them don't want to be, which I agree with, but I think in the context
some of them don't, and some of them do.
All right.
Most of them want to be homeless. And the ones that don't want to be homeless don't know what to want because they're not really working.
You got some issues
in their brain. I mean, they're literally not working, but also
it's a little bit of both. Yeah.
Yes.
They're not getting the help that they need.
Yeah.
You know what? I think that's probably the most.
And that's the
diplomatic
American
to put
way. It seems like every tragedy we flirt around always tends to lend us right to that point that we have a mental health problem. But keep eating your plastic cheeseburgers. Thanks for watching this clip from the Rethink Tank Live. Join us every Tuesday at 7 p.m. streaming across the platforms on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok. We do our best to promote user engagement, and we want you involved. So be sure to bring your perspective live so we can get you in the dialogue. See you then.